And then you do have the 2011 inter-party coalition that tried to bring together DP at the time, UPC, FDC at the time, and JEMA all together, only for it to split right before elections. Now, in 2016, we see a reemergence of this with the March Herald Democratic Alliance that attempted to unite Amama Mbabazi and Dr. Kizza Besigye. Again, also that never saw the light and reality of day. 2021, despite NUP's urgency, every party decided to go on its own. And, you know, the polls decided the president is the one in power today, and 35% went to Robert Kyagulanyi at the time. So if we were to use those statistics, he was a formidable opposition candidate. Now, as we're heading into 2026, the People's Front for Freedom has announced it will not field a presidential candidate. And this is reigniting the talk again of unity amongst the opposition parties. This, however, has come amidst escalating state repression. For example, for the National Unity Platform, in just 2025 alone, they have seen the arrest of over 100 NUP members, and that is worrying. The party leaders accusing the government of shrinking Uganda's democratic space. The question is, can 2026 this time round be any different? Well, we'll find out with my guests this morning. Expected to join us, we do have a number of guests that we're expecting. Harold Kaija, the Deputy Secretary General for the PFF, will be joining us. Also, Honorable Richard Sibamala, Bokoto Central Member of Parliament, will be joining us. But in studio, I'm joined by Benjamin Katana, a lawyer and political strategist, and he's the National Unity Platform Treasurer. Of course, he's been instrumental in NUP's grassroots mobilization and financial accountability structures, all which he has been part and parcel of. And, you know, there's been that low-hanging issue of how is NUP going to mobilize itself for these elections. Well, he's going to be talking to us in that regard. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Priscilla. It's a great pleasure for me to join the conversation this morning, and greetings to the viewers of this show. Okay,
so let's start off with the hard question. How far with the National Unity Platform mobilization? How much money has been collected so far? Is it enough to get you kick-started on the agenda for 2025?
Well, sometime this year we launched a fundraising campaign with the view of raising approximately 9 billion Uganda shillings to facilitate the campaigns that we are having now, because they are already on. When you have people that have been nominated to run for office, the campaign season is upon us. We have so far collected about 1 billion, and we have a shortfall. We are optimistic that we'll be able to raise all the money necessary to run this campaign, and we have continued to call upon the well-wishers and supporters of NUP to support the cause, and we are very confident that they will continue coming through. And of course, for us, this campaign, like all the campaigns that we have been involved in, is that with or without the money, the work will go on. But the money helps to facilitate movements, helps to facilitate deployment of agents, helps in enabling some candidates who are not able to fund themselves with nominations. Basically, the basic things that are required for one to run for an election. So we are, regardless of the financial challenges, but I think our biggest challenges really are not financial. The biggest challenges that we face today is largely the repression from the security apparatus, which on account of the fusion between the state and the ruling party, the security apparatus has become an extension of the political structure of the incumbent and the ruling party. So they frustrate our activities, they arrest our teams, the biggest challenge that we face today is interference from the state security apparatus, which is doing politics on behalf of the incumbent and the ruling party.
Okay. Regarding the security, especially how it's handling the National Unity Platform, right now poised to be the biggest opposition party, over 100 NUP members have so far been arrested in just 2025 alone, and you are having a lot of pressure. The big question is, how is the party adopting its strategy under the wave of repression that you're talking about, Mr. Katana?
Well, first of all, to emphasize that the persecution that the party is facing today is not new, only that it becomes more magnified towards an election. Because you see, before you take on an assignment, you must first understand the terrain. We know that the terrain in which we operate is one where there has been a fusion of the state and the ruling party. So when you are contesting against the NRM and the lead of NRM Museveni, you are contesting against the state of Uganda, and you are looked at as an enemy of the state and treated as such. So these arrests point to that the state infrastructure, which should be ideally shielded from partisan politics, is now drawn into partisan politics on the side of the incumbent. So what is happening is not surprising. And therefore, it is very frustrating, it is very disadvantageous, but it's a reality that now we must contend with, because that's what it is. And so the starting point is the realization that you have two options: either to confront this monster and wrestle it out of power, or fold your arms and let it entrench itself deeper. And when you allow it to do so, then even the little voices where Kaija and myself can come here and speak will also be silenced, because it can come to that. So we have chosen the path of confronting it as it is. And we have not done so just as a few individuals. But if you look at Uganda today, and I think it is Dr. Besigye has always defined it, that we have a group of the oppressed and the oppressors. So the oppressed must either fight and liberate themselves, or they will be subdued further, to the extent that even the little rights that they are left with as citizens, they will not be able to enjoy them. For example, now we have a semblance of people going to vote and people contesting, but we can reach a point where even MPs are appointed. We can reach a point even where councillors are appointed. We can reach a point even where the semblance of an election is not there. And you see, the authoritarian governments degenerate. In fact, these arrests that we are talking about, previously people will be arrested. Because there is no case against them, they will get bail in the subsequent week or the next day. But today, people who were arrested in 2001 are still in detention, because the authoritarian establishment, in 2021, has deteriorated and become more intolerant to dissenting voices. So the strategy really is to, first of all, adopt a more resilient approach. But number two, innovation in politics. In fact, now we can be able to speak here, but as we move towards the voting day, even the radio stations out of this town, people who represent the opposition will not be given a chance to speak. So now we must find creative ways of reaching out to the people,
to the masses.
We must find creative ways of sending out our message. We must find ways of circumventing the repressive system that has been put in place to ensure that the citizens are not allowed to express their views. So that we find ways of circumventing those roadblocks that have been established and reach out to the people.
All right.
And that's what we are doing.
We're being joined by Harold Kaija, Deputy Secretary General right now for the People's Front for Freedom, but you are one that has been behind bars and dealt with the security forces previously when you were with the FDC. This is not news to you, and it's a continuous growing trend as far as the election oppression is concerned. You have tested it, you have seen it, it's still here. What do you make of it, and how can we actually deal with it?
Thank you, Priscilla, and good morning, our viewers, and good morning, my comrade and brother. The situation is not new. A week ago, I was speaking to a retired general who I bumped into in a supermarket, and he told me we must tell the population that they must be prepared for the most brutal dictatorship. Dictatorship is brutal. I said he was adding brutal and dictatorship. That means dictatorship squared, or brutality squared. So that's where we are. And it's one thing that we must seriously think, sit down and see how to deal with it. People tend to compare our struggle in Uganda and struggles like in countries like South Africa. Why those people were able to fight? There was a clear line seen by everybody of the oppressed and the oppressor. But here you find some of the would-be oppressors, oppressed, who should be on our side, are the other side. A policeman who beats you up, when you go outside, he tells you his kids are home, have not yet gone back home. I said, but you man must be this side. I've been speaking for the police about their circle. I forget its name. Now they thank you, but when they're deployed, they hit you. In South Africa, what the dictators did, they denied the oppressed the access to go to the ballot. So now they were fighting to go and be able to go to the ballot. But now, modern dictators allow you to engage in elections. All over Africa, where they are dictators, they tell you on such and such a date there will be an election. But which election is the ritual that they must win? You see, an election must have a 50-50 chance of everybody to win. Now, like you see what might stop me from winning is being able to get the 9 billion they're talking about. But now here, even if you have it, and you get 9 billion, and even you surpass it and you have 20 billion, you're wasting your time. Because the police is an extension of the NRM, the military is an extension of the NRM, the money is for NRM, not actually the NRM, the Mr. Museveni and family. The judiciary is for Mr. Museveni and family. Actually, everybody is against you except yourself, including the oppressor. The LLC system is against you, the DPC, and you know everybody is almost against you.
Okay, so what advice would you have for the National Unity Platform, seeing as they're now the front-running biggest opposition party and they're facing the wrath that you once faced?
I think I think there are things we've been talking to them, not on camera, on how we must sit, define the problem, sit together, reduce. Even the reason why the PUF said that this time around we are not fielding a candidate. Dr. Besigye has always said that elections are subversive to the struggle. Because when they say the elections, eventual competition comes. Katana wants to win and I want to win. So even you find yourself blackmailing each other, hitting sons at each other, like when you find people pulling up, like I'm contesting for MP in Nasana, they tell you the one who pulling up your posters is somebody called an opposition person. I said, nah, I think it should be NRM. So that kind of, if we can reduce that that competition, and then we see how to join our synergies and get together and know, guy, we are putting up a trap. That trap must fall in.
Okay.
But if you have colleagues who will say, I put up a trap and I must be the first.
And unfortunately, what we are seeing so far with the nomination exercise by the Electoral Commission, just on local government level alone, we have seen those that were not able to get flags to represent the National Unity Platform, for example, instantly defecting to other parties.
Yeah, true. True.
So your advice is quite contrary to the realities that are happening.
No, it's not contrary, and I'm telling you the situation we are in. When there is competition, an election, there's a chance for somebody to get something, to get there. There is a window that if we cannot win the seat for presidency, somebody can become a councillor, somebody can become MP, somebody can become a mayor, somebody can become something. But if we had all been like how the Musevenis were in the 80s and they saw no room to be on the table, we would all fight. But now there are guys who appear now. If you ask him, they'll tell you. Now everybody is busy. He's an activist. He's the people power, power. But now later elections, what? End. And they are either they are taking oath, and others have lost. Those who have lost will go back to their businesses. Those who have won become very busy in their offices. To call them and say, guys, there's an activity. Let's rise up and say, no, you see, council, there's parliament, there is this. We know we have a trip here. You know, they will tell you all kind of statements that are contrary to the struggle that must, and say what you are doing, who does it help?
This is to say that we could perhaps be wasting an hour of our time having a discussion on opposition coalition for 2026. But before we get into the debate of that, you have mentioned of the PFF choosing not to front a candidate for the 2026 general elections. Some people have been of the view that it's because Dr. Kizza Besigye is in prison right now. He initially, being one of the founders of PFF, was meant to be the flag bearer for these general elections, but he is not able to do so. Bail is not anywhere to be seen for him now or anytime soon, and so for him to represent PFF as a presidential candidate is difficult for the party right now. And others were the hope that because they've been seeing an interim president, you know, being the face of the party, the hopes that he can do so. But then recently, through the local government nominations, we see him coming back to want the seat for Kampala's Lord Mayor. And now you are choosing not to front a candidate. Some people have the view that it's because of those circumstances at the backbone of the party that you're having this decision today.
And no, actually, I think that is far from the right position. We never say one thing and mean the other. If somebody has followed us, we never say one thing and mean the other. One, we never go in an election unless we are prepared. In the last 5 years, we've had a lot of turmoils in our line of struggle. We've not been able to move around this country. In West Nile, I'm aware, we are on a Nebi and Arua. In Acholi, we are on in Gulu. And when you say we,
you're making reference to who?
Our group, the PF, or the group at Katonga, the PFF. In the Western, we've only been in towns. If I tell you in Teso, we've been in Soroti and Amoria. In Bugisu, we've only been in Mbale. In Bukedi, only been in Busia. If you're given 60 days, 2 months, and you're even going to fight with the police, how are you going to cover all that ground? In the past, by this time, would have been at every sub-county moved around. 2, the resources needed. So we realized that we would not want to field a candidate for the sake of fielding a candidate. The people at Katonga, the men and women at Katonga, you cannot say only 2 people qualify to be president. If you know the profile of our people, there are many. But we would not want to give somebody a suit to go and speak well and say, where have you been? Have you been able to, like he's telling you need 9 billion and you do not have it. And the most important thing that I told you, even when we spoke to our patriarch, said, yes, we go to this election to win it, that you are actually going to intensify the fight. Now you remember when Dr. Besigye had first been arrested. Young men went throwing stones that, you see, he's only plotting a comeback. If they knew he was not going to contest, they would have come to fight for him. But now, I believe, knowing he's off the bout, it helps to galvanize the opposition. So our mind is about to galvanize the opposition, to galvanize the oppressed, to be able to fight. But the moment you throw in a person, you are going to even see now, you're going to see the frictions coming up, because whenever you say, I have Priscilla coming, and they say, Priscilla, let's look at Priscilla. Who is Priscilla's mother? Who is the father? What does he do? Who are the relatives? So all that causes problems to the bigger struggle. So we said, let's go and do what is achievable. Deploy, because now for us we use in our language, we deploy, we say, no, Katana, go contest for this, go connect. This one, we are for that. And I want to tell you, you'll hear people, many people have come to Katonga asking to be endorsed for that position. Did you ever hear us calling for nominations? We called for people to come and express interest for all positions. We said no, nobody should come and pick forms for the office of president. Even those that have picked forms, we are coming. About 3 of them this week have been calling, can I come and be endorsed? Say no, we are not about a ratio, or we are not lacking the human resource. We are saying, if we field a candidate in the 2026 elections, what is the game plan? What does it add to the struggle? Actually, our patriarch, Dr. Besigye, advised that we either go for a single opposition candidate or no candidate. Would only go if our candidate was the only candidate to take the flag. If this kind of where about 100 people have picked forms, he said no. I say about people of which country, I don't know. It's sort of a social media. How many people was that? About 19? And then 19 people are speaking to people, you don't know even what they're talking about. And most of them will find that instead of talking about the situation we are in, they're actually competing with each other. So
with that decision by the PFF, then what are the objectives of the party going into election for the other elective positions?
As I told you, the elective positions are winnable. You'll contest and become MP. You'll contest and become chairman. You'll contest and take. You see, having people who have a big background of the military, you don't see the space. When you capture this, say, I've won this battle, I've won the other, until you get there. You don't say, because I'm not yet there, I give up this. No, you don't give up. Because every platform helps you in the bigger struggle to be able to achieve, to get where you want to go. So that is what we do. Say, no, let's go and compete where we can compete, marshal our resources, put our human resources there, and be able to speak to the people, to understand the show. Without having a presidential candidate, does not mean that we're not going to talk about national issues. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. We are actually going to use that platform. We are writing a manifesto. We are going to give people a message and define the way we are in, and mobilize the people of Uganda that if you do not save yourself, like how the general told me, we must prepare for the most brutal dictatorship. And you see, when you're seeing refugees flooding this country, Ugandans are going to become refugees. My colleague Sam Mugumya, who just came back from exile, more than 10 days now, we do not know where Sam Mugumya is. We went and applied for habeas corpus in court. And for the first time, a judge had jailed for 3 days. And on the 3rd day, Actually, I've been in court Israel, I'll tell you. They always say immediately, he gave 7 days. Even after 7 days, the military, the police, they are saying they don't know where he is.
Okay.
We have seen Ugandans disappear forever. We don't know where he is. And that is happening to many, many Ugandans, those known and those unknown. So that kind of situation, you know, it is, you know, they're just names if you don't know them. The moment they get to your family, they get the person you know. So we must fight. We must be able to even make the people who have power understand that what they are creating, it is a monster that is going to eat all of us.
Okay.
Some of us might be civil, but they'll find people who will be like them, who went and picked guns.
Speaking of monsters eating you, there are monsters that have eaten in the past, from the past elections. Let's talk about the coalitions or alliances that have been from previous times and really why they went to bed without coming out with any fruit to bear at the end of the day. You had the 2011 inter-party cooperation. You did have the Democratic Alliance that also collapsed in 2016. 2021, maybe because of COVID-19 and other related issues, everyone went their own road. And so it begs the question, what were the failures of the alliances previously, from which lessons we can actually adopt, reflect on for a better alliance this time round?
I like your question. The good thing you've not phrased it the way others have been phrasing it. Others would even claim there has never been a successful what? Alliance. There have been successful alliances in this country. The one of 1961, 62, where UPC and KY were able to get government. In 1978, 79, Ugandans went to Mosh and mobilized themselves and were able to remove Amin. Mr. Museveni was actually a product of an alliance that came to power in 1986, and even these guys who took over power. So there have been successes of those alliances and other failures. Of course, what causes failure of an alliance is not having enough time prepare for it, to be able to overturn every stone and check. You know, there's when you want to have an alliance only to please where you're taking the alliance. But when you sit down and say, guys, this is this, this is this, this is what we have, this is how we are going, and have all the modalities, not just say, no, let's come and move for, you know, for the cameras. No, alliances, you must look at those that have succeeded and where they have failed, then look at those that have failed. Say, no, this one failed because they were egos, this one's failed because they did not have resources, this one failed because there were those competing interests. Because when you do not deal with the competing interests, because you see, human beings have interest, both group and individual interests. If you do not deal with them, eventually, and they say, no, let's just come for the camera and speak. The rest will deal. No, that rest and put it under the carpet. At the end of the day, it will come on top and it will cause problems. If you deal with that, I want to tell you, we can be able to move stones and be able to achieve our struggle. Mr.
Katana, I pull out the IPC and the TDA in particular because those were opposition alliances that were intended to back something good and formidable for the oppositions at that time. But they never mushroomed, or the reality was never seen. And so from where you are seated and your assessment, what do you see as the contributing factors to the failures of those alliances in particular?
Well, I think the factors that undermine the ability to form coalitions in this country are many. Some are structural because of the structure of our politics and the structure of our legal regime. Others are political in nature, like my brother here has elaborated. And I can give you an example that an example of Kenya. Their constitutional arrangement allows political parties to form a coalition and run under a singular symbol. But today, if we have a coalition in Uganda, you will have Kaija here, who is a member of the coalition, running under the symbol of the phone. You will have Katana, who is in NUP, a member of the coalition running under the umbrella. Of course, that causes confusion, but also there's a reason why people belong to different political parties. So it scares political parties that if we go into this coalition, for example, and I belong to this party, but now we have chosen to support this presidential candidate, one of the likely consequences is that by the time that campaign is over, the party that does not have a presidential candidate is likely to be consumed, and it will end up, losing ground and things like that. Of course, the other things he has talked about, the interests, but also there are external factors that while you're planning to work together, then there are people who, because we see when you say opposition political parties are talking, you are not going to say that we are only going to allow A, B, C, D. Even political parties that are opposition in name will come and participate in these conversations. And their mission may be to make sure that this conversation does not lead to any fruit. And I don't want to give examples, but the examples are glaring. Yeah, so the factors are very many. But that being said, Priscilla and our viewers, is that the working together and the coalition is a very desirable thing, for especially one reason, that you see in Uganda, every time we go to the polls, there are so many people who don't vote. And maybe part of the explanation is that they fall victim of, there's always propaganda. People would say, oh, these opposition people, they cannot even unite, how can they lead the country? Without looking at the reasons why these people are not coming to work together. So some of the people that stay away from voting probably are affected by that. So if we came together, and maybe it would give hope to those that are not participating in these processes to come and participate in the voting. But if the other mistake that we make in this country is that to look at opposition in terms of people that are seeking positions. But opposition is bigger than that. If you have been following the voting patterns in this country, you will realize that every time we go to the polls, there can be 10 opposition candidates, but the voters will coalesce around a singular candidate. So in one or the other, there has been opposition unity in this country among the people of Uganda through the voting. It is only the political elite, because of the many factors that we have talked about, that sometimes fail to come together. But it's important that even when we do not have a singular candidate, that we understand that we have a common objective. That is the assumption. That because if we come here and I spend 30 minutes talking about PFF, how bad PFF is, it will clearly show that I lack focus. That my objective is not to take power, because PFF does not have power. But so if you see people who come here and spend 30 minutes and they are from the opposition, and their main focus is to discredit the other people in the opposition, it clearly should tell you and tell the people of Uganda that these people's objective is different from taking power.
Okay, so we're going to be taking a short break, but one of the takeaways of failed previous coalitions or alliances, enough preparation time, begs the question, are they really still having enough time between now and the general elections in January to coalesce? The other issue that has come through is resources, egos, and interests both at group level and individual level. All those have been stumbling blocks in previous coalitions. Are they still stumbling blocks today? And the bigger question is, who is the most formidable contender for that position of a one singular opposition candidate for presidency of Uganda? We'll be right back with the answers after this break. We're dissecting the mixed prospects in opposition alliances ahead of the general elections 2026. A feasibility of a joint candidate for the opposition, and by opposition we're talking about the major opposition political players for the 2026 general elections. We've had a good and honest conversation from the National Unity Platform Treasurer, and that is Benjamin Katana. We've also had the Deputy Secretary General of PFF giving us his 2 cents on why the party decided this time not to front their own candidate as a party. Harold Kaija, a veteran opposition mobilizer. Now we're being joined by Honorable Richard Sebamala. He is a Bukoto Central Member of Parliament on the DP card. The DP has also had its own internal issues recently, vetting and electing its current president, which presidency is being contested by different factions.
The leader of opposition in DP.
And the leader of opposition in DP.
De facto president. Should have
You are here. Thank you so much for making the time for joining us. You have found us having a very interesting debate. And allow me to pick it up from right there. If we had had you earlier, I would have had your school of thoughts on the other points of discussion. But anyway, the Democratic Party has been one at the forefront of coalitions, many a number. If we're to look at just the last 29 years from the new constitution, in 1996 elections, the DP joined forces with the UPC, fronting Dr. Paul Kawanga Semwogerere as the presidential candidate. Then you have been part of the coalitions and alliances that have come thereafter till date. But we're seeing no fruit of one of the grandfathers of opposition political parties in Uganda. Why is that so?
It is true that the Democratic Party has been at the center of almost every coalition, and it has been a center of politics in Uganda. It has been a mentor, a teacher, a founder of almost all political parties. It is also true that at one time the Democratic Party had those leaders that were fully focused on how to take power. You will note that in 1961, 1958, when they were organizing the government, then in 1961, when Ben Chiboneka became the first prime minister, it was legitimate that this country will move forward using truth and justice. Along the way, all of us know what has happened to DP. The first presidents, Paul Kawanga, of our generation, that is Paul Kawanga Semwogerere and Sebana, threw some bit of light in what truth and justice would mean. But from 2010, when Norbert Mao came into power, the structural mobilization of the party failed. The resources are not accounted for. The fights between Norbert Mao and the different parties, he would attack anyone at any time, say anything, call it a one-man army and all those things. They made the party look like it is against its own opposition. And finally, the recent defection from Democratic Party to almost NRM. There is not much that we can now say of DP's leadership and the coalition, because its coalition is entirely with the NRM. The cooperation agreement that was signed clearly shows that actually all members of parliament are supposed to work in favor of the NRM. If they are not in favor of the NRM, then they have to consult and agree on particular things. That is for the activities of the members of parliament. And then when you look at the oath of minister, that is Article 115 and Article 117, the oath and other things, section 2 of the Constitution, you will see that actually if somebody swears to become minister, they lay allegiance to the ruling government and everything. So sincerely, how do you dare get the Democratic Party to sit down with NUP? How do you dare get it to sit down with PFF? Or even any other political party? It is clear that actually their alliance is not with the opposition parties. Their alliance is with the NRM. The current leadership is in the alliance with the NRM. And they enjoy the values of the NRM.
So
and,
if you're having a cooperation with the ruling government, doesn't then that put you in a terrible position to coalesce with the opposition? Because then you are not fronting the agenda of the ruling party.
Now the thing is that the moment.
In other words, what are the repercussions of you going into an arrangement with the opposition?
What are the repercussions of us getting into an alliance with the opposition? Of course, you will have to lose the ministerial job that you have as Norbert Mao. The moment, he said it plainly, the NTV covered that the moment I lose this position of president, I lose the ministerial position. Meaning, it is very clear that the moment they see him at the NUP offices, the next day he loses his ministerial, his meal card. It is also very cleer that the NRM will not vote Siranda in the next year elections. So their merger, they would rather coalesce with the NRM than coalesce with fellow, opposition parties. Okay. And it is written. It is by stature, even on press conferences, even wherever they go. You've seen them at Kololo recently. You saw them going to be part of the NRM delegates conference. You've seen them even in other in other conferences and other interactions. Meaning that how will PFF or NUP trust the leadership of the Democratic Party into anything? Because apart from interests, individual interests, and individual interests meaning party individual interests, the main reason for any coalition would be I trust that you will do this and you trust that I will do this. So
let's make judgment of that with the cooperation you're having with the ruling government, except for the individual interests.
Apart from me that proposes it.
Having been fulfilled, and by and large, as the Democratic Party, what have you gained?
Nothing.
What mutual interests have been arrived at
Nothing.
Between you and the NRM that you can tell the people of Uganda look here, our coalition has bared this fruit?
The people of Uganda, allow me inform you today that the cooperation agreement between the people of Uganda, allow me tell you today that the cooperation agreement between Democratic Party and the NRM has yielded nothing, zero. Nothing for this country. The factors were reconciliation over, what was going, reconciliation over the political atmosphere. There was transition. There was amendment over here, whatever was discussed between Mao and whoever, all the words he has told the world forever has been a lie. He has been a very good orator, but nothing has come out of it. So don't even expect anything from Mao and his colleagues. You say it is a lie, but where we sit today, the National Unity Platform has so many members behind the bars being arrested for a lot of nothing. DP members are not being touched. PFF is also facing the wrath of the Titans. Previously, they all belonged to the FDC, have faced the wrath of the Titan. In all of that, DP has not faced the wrath of the Titan as far as law and security is concerned. So if we are to assess benefits as the party, you are covered. As the party, you are cleared. Actually, I will tell you this. What activity have we done? Exactly, program. Because what will they hold us on? We don't have an activity. We have not gone marching on the streets. If you looked at, you can play a clip. But National Unity Platform was not marching on the street. Recently, when their School of Leadership boss was arrested, was she marching on the street? No. Recently, the members of Democratic Party... Was there deputy spokesperson marching on the street? No, he was not marching on the street. Recently, when the members of Democratic Party, the UID, Chiria Ismail, the former president of Democratic Party, Dumba, the former driver to Katonwama, Mpunge, the one that won the MP seat, the youth UID president seat in Barara, and Wadimba, the one that is standing in when they went to electoral commission, did you see how they were abandoned? You played the clip in your own news. They were abandoned up and arrested and put in. You understand? So it is not about whether we abandoned in or not. We have no activity completely. When we go inside, when they go inside the walls of Barintuma, they will just praise the works of this government and how it has managed to put this country to where it is.
All right.
When did you ever hear Mao talk about the atrocities that are happening in Uganda today? The only day he ever said something is when he sugarcoated the human rights. You know, when we talk about human rights, this government has failed completely. But, why do you add the but? You're supposed to say, let's fight what is going on.
And him being given the right
you understand? When you look at what happened in Barara in his own election, it's a destruction of justice.
Okay.
Why
should the opposition parties today in the race for 2026 trust the Democratic Party?
Come again?
Why should the opposition parties in the race for 2026 presidential candidacy and the coalition discussion on table trust the Democratic Party?
One, we have come to learn that parties are bigger than individuals. And we have also come to learn that if the only reason Democratic Party has survived for a very long time is because good leaders and bad leaders have come and left. And the good ones have dwindled numbers, and the bad ones have dwindled numbers, but the good ones have multiplied the numbers. We accept today that we have a wrong leader as Norbert Mao. We have accepted. We have done everything. We have taken him to court. We have stood against him. We have done everything. He has bundled people up, beaten them. The SFC are not okay. The statutory organs have been part of their elections, run away with ballot boxes and everything. So we have accepted he's a bad leader and he has stayed. But we also know that DP will get a good leader, and because we are hopeful that DP will get a good leader, and we are very sure that Democratic Party is independent of Norbert Mao, we so believe that those good leaders that believe that DP it will be great again, will continue to coordinate with the opposition forces.
Right.
And the group that feels that Norbert Mao is doing the right thing will continue to be with the NRM. So as of now, we are very sure. Actually, it is very clear. If you're with Sebabala Richard, you're there. You said it.
It's
the de facto president of the Democratic Party, and you do not believe in the values of Norbert Mao. So as long as, so it is very clear, the people will be this side and the others will go with Norbert Mao.
Okay.
And then in the next election,
it's also very clear to the public eye and through the electoral process being tried and tested in 2021 that the biggest opposition presidential candidate that you gentlemen or you parties have right now is Robert Kyagulanyi, having proved himself with a 35% result from the vote in 2021. Is he the candidate that you are going to back up for presidential candidate? Should this conversation actually bear fruit?
100%. No doubt.
Okay.
I am...
reasons?
I might not believe in a NUP thing, personally, for personal reasons. Because sometimes I get angry when they do some things. I'm sorry to tell you. He also gets angry when you might have interest. You might like, I mean, in Democratic Party, I can get angry at what is happening in Democratic Party. So at any one time, any of us here can get angry at what is being operated inside. So as much as I get angry at very many things, 2021 and 2021 I backed Honorable Kyagulanyi 100%. Okay. And today, 2026, he is my candidate.
All right, the PFF, what's your position?
Yeah, we are still progressing on that line. As of now, they want to give the position, as we said on Monday. We'll eventually give a position.
Yeah. Are there other candidates you're looking at?
There are two candidates that we are looking at. He's aware, but eventually we'll get there. That's where we are driving. That's where we are driving, to make sure that as I told you, we want to make sure that there's less friction, since we don't have resources, since we are under attack, so that we know the enemy that is hitting us, and be able to put our artilleries against him and see how much we can move. Ugandans really need change. So like yesterday.
With the PFF, it's between Robert Chagulanyi and?
Yes, and General Muntu.
General Muntu. Okay, all right. This leaves the National Unity Platform in a hotspot.
You don't have...
That's a discussion you'll have as a party coalition intending. All right, so how does the National Unity Platform intend to actually have inclusive talks without sidelining your partners?
No, we actually have, like he has mentioned, we are having progressive, we come from a position of knowing that we are at a very critical stage in the history of our country, where we need all hands on deck. In fact, as a matter of fact, to set the record straight, we are having progressive conversations with our colleagues in the partner parties. But
apart from DP.
You want to cause more
for obvious reasons.
You don't want to cause more problem.
It's okay.
Yeah. No, but we would want to work with progressive forces within DP. But the forces that have clearly identified themselves as part of the establishment of the oppressor, we have no business with them.
Okay.
But allow me extend this conversation to also reach the people that may not necessarily belong to political parties. Because you see, at every elections we have gone to in Uganda, you find so many people who don't participate in these processes. When we are talking about opposition, we are not talking about people that belong to DP, PFF, NUP. We are talking about all the people of Uganda that believe there should be change in this country. Okay. We want to encourage them to actively seek that change. Instead of wishing and only pointing out the weaknesses in PFF, the weaknesses in DP, the weaknesses in NUP, they should actively work towards.
As the indication has come, we wrap out of this conversation. But one final question to Harold. You did mention that enough time to prepare for these coalitions and alliances has been a challenge. What is enough time? What should be enough time for these conversations to bear fruit?
You know, we had started discussing even before Dr. Besigye went to jail. Okay. We had that plan eventually, immediate after 2021. That's why you see how him have a call. Let's all coalesce. 5 years is a good time to mobilize leaders, mobilize resources, and even all the supporters to think in the same direction. Okay. But when you have months, sometimes it's a little hard to work on the nitty-gritty.
We can simply sit here and say that since 1996, every election cycle has revived the promise, struck the disappointment of a joint opposition candidate. Now, with 2026 fast approaching, Ugandans are asking themselves this question once again: will this year have the opposition finally uniting, or will history repeat itself once again? We wait to see the decisions of the different political parties in opposition and what the answer to that will be in the forthcoming days. We do have our ground correspondents, Stephen Bide and Rashul Adid, to end these conversations for us on ground.